Alright, so here is my discard for the lazy sourdough process. So I have everything weighed out already. That there is my water with oil. I just kind of weighed all this out as soon as I got home from work and just put it in individual containers just so once I was done showering, eating dinner, I could just get all this mixed in. So there on the bottom left is my discard. I've had that in the fridge for about 2 to 3 months, and I'm just mixing in the hooch. And I don't like to toss it out. I actually like to mix it in. I follow Sourdough Made Easy, and this is just the process that I learned from them. I'm not following it exactly, but it's very, very similar. Okay, so here I am pouring in the discard into the water and oil mix. And I'm using 675 grams of water, room temp water, 15 grams of olive oil, and 232 grams of discard. And I'm just pouring it in. I'm gonna get that mixed in a little bit, just so it's evenly mixed. And all this is going to be done in my stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can definitely do this all by hand. I just find it a little easier just to do it all in the stand mixer. If you want to weigh all this out in your stand mixer bowl, you can definitely do that, but my scale always gives me an error when I do that, so I just have it all in little containers and I mix it in the bowl. So bowl's empty. I'm pouring in the water, oil, and discard mix. And I'm just gonna pour that in, get all the whatever's left over from the bottom, just scrape that out. And this was around 7:40 p.m. Monday night. And this mixture comes together pretty easily if you have everything weighed out already. So just getting all those bits out. And if you don't want to use olive oil, you're more than welcome to just use water. You can do 690 grams of water. So here's what it looks like. I'm just gonna mix it around a little bit more. And there is someone outside mowing the lawn, so sorry if you can hear the lawnmower. All right, so here is my salt. This is 26 grams of salt. And I'm just gonna mix that around a little bit just to break up the salt so it mixes better. And I do kind of clean up a little bit as I'm doing all this so I'm not overwhelmed at the end. All right, so here is my bread flour. It's 1,020 grams of bread flour, 112 grams of rye flour. Again, if you want to use whatever other flour you have on hand, you can, or just use 1,132 grams of bread flour. And if you are going to use another flour other than rye, just make sure that it is about 10%. So just make sure you're using 112 grams of whatever other flour that you'd want to use, and then 1,020 grams of bread flour. So I'm just going to slowly pour that into the bowl, trying not to make a mess. And this recipe is again very similar to sourdough made easy. I do use less salt, just because to me it was a little bit saltier, so I just adjusted my salt. So if you want to go and watch their videos and follow their exact recipe, it's still very good. I just adjusted it to what I like. All right, so here is all the flour in the bowl. Getting it all set up. Make sure it's locked in. And then put on your dough hook. And the flour, you might want to just spread it out a little bit better so it doesn't get all over the top of the hook, or it just goes crazy and spreads all over your counter. All right, so this is what it looks like. Just turn it on 1. This should take about 2 to 3 minutes to mix up. I do like to stop it and scrape down the hooks sometimes, and then I like to scrape down the edges just to make sure it mixes pretty well. All right, so I have it all mixed up. Now I'm going to transfer the dough into this container, the container where I just had the flour. There's still a little bit of flour left in the bowl, which is perfectly fine. If you want to wash it, you are more than welcome to. I'm just doing a lazy, easy process. So just get that dough off the hook. Try not to waste any. And here in a minute, I do get a little bit of water just so I can put a little bit of water on any dry bits that you can see on the dough. And I just use the mixer bowl that I already mixed the dough in. So I just put a little bit of water in there. And then that way I can get the other bits off of the actual hook and any on my bench scraper. So again, I'm just going to try to get all the dough in that container. Make sure you scrape it all out. Had to adjust the way that I was holding it. It's kind of hurting my hand a little bit. All right, so get that all in there. Okay, there's the water, and I'm just gonna wet my fingertips just a tiny bit, scrape all that off the hook. And kind of just fold the dough into itself. I'm not gonna make a perfect ball or anything. I'm just gonna try to look for any dry bits that I might have missed while mixing. And now I'm going to do my best at flipping the dough over. Struggling a little bit over here. Okay, and now I'm going to clean my bench scraper off. Can't waste any dough. A little bit more water and just kind of push it down. I have my container marked. If you have one that has markings, great. If not, then it might be a little bit harder to tell once your dough has doubled or even possibly tripled. And I'm just kind of squishing it down, pushing it down so I can see it a little better. As you can see, there's still some dry flour in the container on the sides, but again, no biggie. All right, so I have it all down. It's at the line at about 1,000 grams, and that way I can tell a little bit better tomorrow. And we're just gonna let it, again, just let it sit on the counter until tomorrow morning, and we will come back and see what it looks like. I just put the top on. I don't seal it too tight. I just leave 2 of them off, and I close up the other 2. And then I like to put this little tea towel around it. That way, if there's any gnats or anything like that, they don't end up squeezing in on the container. And just to keep it a little warm as well to help with the rise. And that's it. It's just gonna lay there. Good morning. So it is almost 9 o'clock in the morning. It is Tuesday, and last night I finished preparing my dough at almost 8 o'clock p.m. I did 675 grams of room temp water, 15 grams of extra virgin olive oil, 232 grams of starter, 1,020 grams of bread flour, 112 grams of rye, and 26 grams of salt. So I mixed it all up just in the stand mixer as you saw in the video, and I put it in this container and just let it sit here. Sorry, there's a plane going by. All right, so I just let it sit in this container overnight, and it was right at 1,000 grams. So it has risen pretty good. There is a lot of bubbles going on. There's no bubbles on the top yet. There's a little bit of olive oil, but so this is what it looks like. Did wash my hands, so it's not sticky at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a divide. I'm gonna divide these, and then I'm going to do a pre-shape. Let it rest for about an hour and a half, and then, or actually, I'm sorry, yeah, an hour and a half. I'll do a final shape, and I will go ahead and get these prepped with some flour and stick them in the fridge. And from there, I will bake them tomorrow because I don't have time to bake them today. So let's get to it. All right, so we are going to do, or I'm going to do, 4 smaller loaves that are going to be 250 grams each. And then I will do a 650 gram loaf, and then I will just do whatever is left over as another loaf. So we will weigh this out in grams. I just like using the top of my container so my scale doesn't get super sticky. Make sure it's zeroed out, and we will get to dividing. And you can get some water so the dough doesn't get super sticky, like all over your fingers. Again, it shouldn't be very sticky. Let's see how it goes. Okay, it is a little sticky, so I might have to get a little bit of water. I will be right back. Okay, so I divided all these out. So there is 4 that are 250. There's 1 that's 430, and then the bigger one is 650. So I will get the pre-shape done on these, and then we will let them rest. And I'll show you a couple of them. So that's the 430. And you don't need your scale anymore, so you can get that cleaned up or just moved out of the way. And we'll do the little one first. Just kind of move that one. So that's the 650. And then again, this is a 430. And here's the 250, one of the 250s. So here's my bowl with water, or my little container with water. Just spread it out a little. And last night, when I set the dough in that container, I didn't do any stretch and folds. I did not touch it until this morning. Great at shaping, so I'm just going to do my best. And again, this is just a pre-shape. Doesn't have to be pretty or anything, just do appreciate. And if you have better methods, then do your thing. We're just trying to get it as round-ish as possible, and then you're just going to set it and let it rest to give it a little bit of room, because it should expand a little bit. So just don't set them all. If you're going to leave it on a mat like this or on your counter, just kind of spread them out just a little bit, just to so they don't get all stuck together. All right, so I have all these weighed out. These are the 250, this is the 430, and the bigger one is the 650. I just put it in the container I had the dough in, and I just put it on the top and just kind of covering it up. That way when I'm ready to do my final shape, I'll have enough room here. And I'm just gonna cover these with some saran wrap. You can cover it with a tea towel or just a little towel, or you can even do like the individual bowls that you might be proofing these in. If you'd like, you can do that. And we will let these rest for about an hour and a half. And then again, we'll come back and do our final shape. And you can do your final shape, let them rest again for about half an hour, and go ahead and bake them. I don't have time to bake them again today, so I will just go ahead and put these in bowls with some flour so they don't stick, and a little towel, and I'm just gonna stick these inside the fridge until tomorrow morning, and then I will go ahead and bake them. And that will be it, at least for now. All right, so it's been about 40 minutes, and I have to actually get these shaped now. I can't wait the hour and a half, but if you want to wait the hour and a half, you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a final shape on these, and I'm gonna put them in the bowls with a tea towel, and then put some rice flour on here so they don't stick while they are proofing in the fridge. And you can add a little bit of flour on top of these, or you can just do it on here. You can do it on both. So I will do a final shape on a few, show you that. Again, if you're gonna bake them today, you can let them rest for another about 30 minutes, and then bake them. Again, it's 425 for 58 minutes with steam. If you want to wait until tomorrow and follow me along, follow along, you can. So again, let me take off the saran wrap and I will be back. All right, so if I didn't take off the saran wrap yet, I intended to, but it is sticking a little bit, which is perfectly fine. You can just kind of, don't pull it off very quickly, just lift it up, kind of push it down with your fingers. It's totally fine. Either way, if they don't look perfect, it is perfectly fine. They're gonna taste really good. And if you're gifting these or just keeping them for yourself, either way, it's about the flavor and about the time that you spend on it. People know that it takes time, and it's always a great gift. So we'll get that off. All right, and if you want to go ahead and prep your bowls, you can. I just like to have a couple or a few or even all of them prepped before I start doing this part. Totally up to you. So here's one of the little bowls, and you're just gonna put your little towel on there. And again, if you want to add your rice flour or your all-purpose flour at this point, you can, but I'll just kind of set them up. Sorry for the noise. And that is for my small 250 gram loaves. And this is for my 430 gram loaf. And then this one is for my 650 gram loaf. All right, so we'll set that aside. This is the one I pre-shaped first, so you can start in that order if you'd like. If not, then do whatever order you'd like. As you see, they're not sticky on top. They dried out a little bit. So you're going to put this side, the top side, on the bottom to shape it. There you go. And you can use a little bit of water. You're just gonna stretch it out just a little bit. Doesn't have to be much. go. Hold. You're just trying to kind of stick it together. Just creating some tension. And hopefully some nice bubbles in there. And you're just going to pull it towards you. From here. We don't want to do too many. Or roll it super tight where the dough starts ripping on top. Just creating some tension. You can already see some little bubbles coming up on the surface, which looks awesome. Okay, then you're going to get your bowl. Get your rice flour. And then the top part is going to go in first. And just put that in, and it will start spreading apart, but we'll let it rest before we put them in the fridge, and we'll just check them out and pinch it together. No problem with that. And then I just like to go around the edges and put a little bit of flour. And that's it. I'm just gonna do that to all of them and let them rest for about 30 minutes. All right, so here are all the loaves. They're all shaped, and now they're gonna be resting for 30 minutes. Again, if you wanna set your timer for 30 minutes and then bake, you're more than welcome to. We will come back and check these in 30 minutes. I will close up any little holes that might pop up on the bottom, since they are still spreading out a little bit like that. And what we'll do is we'll just come and pinch them shut, but we'll do that in a little bit. And we'll see how they look. So 30 minutes from now. All right, so it's been 30 minutes and we're gonna check these. And they did spread out some. So again, we'll just pinch them. Just so hopefully they will get a nice oven spring. And the bottom won't completely come open when I bake them tomorrow morning. So that's it. Just pinch it together. We'll just do this to all of them. Again, just pinch. It's a little harder with nails, but just do the best you can. And they might come apart when they're rising in the fridge. Or again, if you're baking them now, then you can just go ahead and pinch it and then just put it on your parchment paper. And then go ahead and throw it in the oven and bake it. And you'll have some delicious bread. All right, so this one didn't come apart too much, but we'll just pinch it just to be sure. And the next, that one looks pretty good. The next bit, it might be a little loud because I'm gonna put these in bags before I put them in the fridge. That way they don't dry out. You can either do like a grocery bag or, oh, this one looks kind of ugly. Just because the towel is a little bit harder, it's just gonna get the shape of the towel, but oh well. This one's for me, so I don't really care too much how it looks. All right. And then here's the bigger one, which this one's for my dad. So again, just pinch whatever has come open on the bottom. All right, so there's that one. And again, my apologies for this next clip. All right, so I have these huge Ziplocs. Sorry. And I'm just gonna put this in here. You don't have to take out all the air. It's perfectly fine. Just as long as it's sealed, again, so it doesn't dry out the dough. And then I'll do, sorry, I'm not sure if all 4 of these will fit. Maybe I'll just do 2, just so it's a little easier to put in the fridge. And I don't drop anything or break anything. These bags, you can just reuse them every time. You don't have to throw them away. They're just going to have a little bit of condensation, but you can just let them air out and just keep reusing them every time. And that's it. They will just rest in the fridge until tomorrow morning. It is 11:38 in the morning. It's still Tuesday. And we'll see how they look tomorrow morning. All right, so this is 8:40 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and I pulled the dough straight out of the fridge, and now I'm just placing it on a cookie sheet on some parchment paper. And here's 2 of them. They rose pretty good, so it's a nice rise in the fridge. And you can kind of set these up whatever way works best for you. I had to make some adjustments. I had to bake 2 a little bit after I baked 4 of them because they did not all fit on the cookie sheets. So here's mine, and I actually ended up taking this one off and baking it a little bit later. So that's what mine looks like. And I was trying to move it around a little bit just so they can fit better. But again, I figured out that they would not all fit. So made some necessary adjustments. And you could wipe off the rice flour if you'd like. I usually spray them with water, so I don't really add any additional flour. So here's the adjustment. I ended up just doing 2 small ones on this cookie sheet. And they did spread out. So here's the other one. And you can do any fancy scoring if you like. I don't do anything crazy just because I'm still learning. So here is my attempt at scoring. Any pointers that you can give me, please? I can definitely take some pointers because I'm not great at scoring. So I just score it, and then sometimes I do kind of pull up on the dough, as you see there, just to try to get that nice ear on it, but it doesn't work, at least not for me. So here they are. I'm going to put it in a cold oven with a pizza stone. As you see, I touched the oven. It's not hot. So I'm putting them straight in. And then I sprayed them with water, and here they are. I did use my little percolator bottom, and I filled it with water, and I'm spraying it with a good amount of water. And they didn't turn out great, but they're tasty. So here they are. And there's the final product. Mine is a little bit darker just because my husband likes it a little bit toastier. So I hope you enjoy.